Hello, my name is Rinon and welcome to my guide for another Sil'dih? Subterranean. This guide will give you all the information you need to clear both the base difficulty of the content and the enhanced savage difficulty. This dungeon contains 3 bosses and 2 trash mob zones. The trash mob zones actually somewhat matter as they have simple mechanics but hit tremendously hard, especially in Savage. You need to know what to expect or your run can end quickly in pain. One final thing to note is that mechanically Savage and Normal of this dungeon are identical, so this guide works for both versions. What changes between the 2 difficulties are the appearance or lack thereof of certain AoE indicators, mobs will do much more damage, and the bosses have more HP leading to tighter enrages. There is also in Savage an overall enrage from the moment you pull the first mob until the moment the final boss dies. This first video will cover the first trash mob zone and the first boss of the encounter, Silkie. Let's get into it. Immediately upon entering, you will see 2 mobs patrolling, a Belladonna and an Aqueduct Kaluk. Pull the Belladonna first. The mechanic you need to deal with here is Atropine Spore, which requires you to be close, Deracinator, which is a tank buster, and finally a Gaze mechanic, which requires you to look away. After this, pull the Kaluk. For right sweep, go left, and for left sweep, go right. It's pretty simple. And lastly, when Creeping Ivy begins to cast, move away from where the ad is facing as it will cleave in front of it. Once you are done with the patrols, move to the left hand side as I believe this is the trickier of the 2 mob pack alcoves and it's nice to get it out of the way fast. Pull the mobs from under the south entrance and move them into the open space as soon as possible. The Udumbara is the mob you want to pay the most attention to here, as the other 2 enemies will just occasionally cleave with AoE indicators. When the Udumbara casts honeyed left, right or front, that side will become unsafe, so dodge as necessary. One tip I found very useful for Savage is that for the left and right dodges, front is actually safe. Once this pack is dealt with, you can move over to the right hand alcove and pull the 3 mobs. These are all fairly simple. The Dryad is the one you need to pay special attention to. Among the circular AoEs the enemies throw at you, the Dryad will also cast Arboreal Storm, which creates a large circular AoE around itself. Move away. With the trash successfully killed, we can now proceed through the center to the first boss, Silkie. This encounter largely focuses on mechanics using different coloured poms to create interesting AoE patterns and resolve the various mechanics. What you need to know going in is that green means go in, as a large circular AoE will appear around it, yellow means an X-shaped AoE will appear, making cardinals safe, and blue will make a plus-shaped AoE appear, making intercardinals safe. Fizzling Suds will cast at the start, making the boss's palm glow yellow. You know how to deal with this already with the knowledge I just gave you. When Soaps Up casts, the mechanic will execute. Dust Blaster is a knockback which can be immunitied easily, or you can just take it and make sure not to be knocked into the wall. Fresh Puff will spawn 3 poms on north, southwest and southeast. Ignore them for now. The boss will then cast Bracing Suds and Squeaky Clean, turning its tail green. Have the tank join the group on Silkie's butt. You will see it cleave the front. Watch the direction in which it cleaves. It'll either be right to left or left to right. Find the direction it cleaves from and go to that side. So for example, if it goes left to right, the group will move to the left. A second and then third cleave will happen, the third cleaving the side which the boss animation was moving towards. These cleaves will also change the colour of the 2 poms to green. Now you want to look towards the pom which is not green. It'll either be blue or yellow. What you're aiming for here is to have the group move towards the pom which is going to be hit by the detonation of this pom. So for example, if there's blue southwest, that means southeast will be hit by the plus shaped AoE, so the group goes there. The boss will change Sud's colour to blue again and cast Slippery Slope. A stack marker will appear on one random player, and this player will need to move through and behind the pom. Keep moving when the cast ends or you will be frozen. The boss will then dash that player, deal damage to the group and execute his plus shaped AoE, changing the colour of this pom to blue. Make sure to dodge the plus AoE. Next up, a tank buster casts called Carpet Beater. and the group can move to the one remaining green pom, which will act as a safe spot for the resolution of this phase. Total Wash is a heavy raid damage which places a damage over time on the party. You can zero this dot out with heavy mitigation, avoiding application entirely. Next up, watch Silkie's tail as it will either change to blue or to green. Fresh Puff will spawn 4 poms on the floor which will tether to players, 2 yellow and 2 blue. These tethered poms will lock in and bounce roughly 2 squares towards that player's location after a set period. One final important note is that the poms have a facing. The resolutions for this mechanic are both simple, but depend on the colour of Silkie's pom. If it's green, yellows are simply pulled to a cardinal direction and blues are pulled to an intercardinal. In doing so, you want to make sure you are only pulling it north, south, east and west, no weird movements whatsoever. After they've locked in, all players move underneath the boss hitbox and the mechanic will resolve. If the boss pom is blue, the most brain-dead solution we could think of is just to face the 4 poms directly out from their starting position and then move to the sides of one of the yellows. Next up, the boss will change its pom colour again to either yellow or green and cast a slippery soap stack marker once again. Take the stack. If the pom was green, you will be knocked back and must end up underneath the boss's hitbox. If it was yellow, you must take the stack and then spread on the cardinals of the boss hitbox, as the X AoE will go off and each player will also individually explode. This is all followed by another Total Wash raid AoE and a Fresh Puff, which will spawn 8 additional poms. Pots will spawn on the north of the arena, leaving 1 column untargeted. If there is a green on the safe column, stand on it. If there's 2 yellows, stand between them. And if there is a yellow and a blue, stand on the yellow and then move to the left or to the right after the pots pass. A carpet beater tank buster will follow this. This must be taken on either the east or the west side of the arena, in line with the leftover poms. The healer of the group will then be targeted by a slippery soap stack. They will need to take this directly across the arena to the other of the east and west side, and the group will stand by the boss in front of them. Keep moving when the cast ends or you will be frozen. Silkie will dash the healer, turning all of the leftover poms blue. Make sure to then dodge the plus AoE from the boss. Then after that you can drag the boss into the column with no blue poms on either north or south side and have the group stack in the hitbox. Soaping Spree will then resolve this phase. Another Dust Blaster knockback will follow, and then 4 additional blue poms will spawn in a line, each tethering to a player, and the boss will stay at north. Another Squeaky Clean will occur, and as this happens, players can stand on the south edge of the boss hitbox. When you see which direction the mop cleave is coming from, take a few steps in that direction to place your blue. Then after the 3 cleaves, run underneath the boss's hitbox on the opposite side to dodge all detonations. Another raid damage will follow all of this, as well as a yellow, green or blue imbued stack with the same accompanying mechanics as the previous iteration of this. This will happen twice, followed by a raid damage, and finally, Enrage. My next video will be focusing on the second trash instance and dungeon boss, and you will be seeing it. Hit your sub box in the next day or so if you are subscribed. Thank you so much for watching, friends. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day.